Some of the most common dog advice you've heard actually makes dogs feel less secure, not more. It's comforting to believe that love automatically translates. But dogs don't interpret the world the way we do. What humans see as guidance or affection can feel overwhelming or confusing to an animal wired for safety first. When those signals clash, dogs don't protest, they quietly adapt. In the moments ahead, you'll learn which familiar habits slowly erode emotional trust without anyone noticing. If you want to keep uncovering these quiet truths, you're welcome to like the video and subscribe. Number 1. Yelling at your dog. Have you ever noticed how the room feels different the moment your voice gets louder? To you, it may feel like a release of frustration or a quick way to be understood. But to your dog, it lands very differently. Dogs don't process the meaning of raised words the way humans do. They absorb the emotional charge behind them. A sharp tone can instantly flip their internal switch from curiosity to caution, from comfort to alertness. Over time, those moments stack up, teaching them not what you want, but what to fear. They begin watching you more closely, not to connect, but to anticipate your mood. And once a dog starts scanning for danger in a familiar voice, it raises a quieter question about how safe the world really feels to them. Number 2, ignoring your dog's fears. What if the moments you brush off as no big deal are the ones your dog remembers most clearly? When a dog shakes during thunder or freezes at a sudden sound, it isn't exaggeration or stubbornness, it's vulnerability. Fear puts their body into survival mode, long before thought or learning can catch up. When that fear is dismissed or pushed through, the message they receive isn't reassurance, but isolation. They learn that when they're overwhelmed, they're on their own. That doesn't always show up right away, but it settles quietly into how much they rely on you when things feel uncertain. And once fear enters the picture, it starts to reveal how deeply your dog depends on being understood without words. Number 3, ignoring body language signals. What if your dog has been talking to you all along, just not in the way you expected? Dogs communicate constantly through small shifts in posture, movement, and expression. A turned head, a stiff tail, a slow blink are not random habits, but emotional signals. When those cues go unnoticed, your dog doesn't get louder, they get quieter. They adapt by holding more inside, because experience has taught them it won't be seen. That gap between what they feel and what's acknowledged can slowly stretch the bond thinner. And sometimes, the misunderstandings that hurt the most begin with affection that doesn't quite land the way it's meant to. Number 4, hugging too tightly. Picture wrapping your arms around someone stronger than you, with no way to step back. For many dogs, a tight hug doesn't register as comfort, but as restraint. Their body may stiffen while their mind looks for an exit, even if they stay still. What feels like closeness to you can feel like pressure to them. Dogs tend to choose connection in quieter ways, leaning in, resting nearby, staying close on their own terms. When that choice is taken away, even gently, it can blur the line between affection and control. And once that line blurs, it invites a deeper look at how much space your dog needs to feel secure when you're not there. Number 5, leaving your dog alone for too long. Have you ever wondered what time feels like to your dog when the house goes quiet? To you, leaving is part of a routine, but to a dog built for closeness, absence can stretch heavy and slow. They don't mark the hours the way you do. They feel the space where you should be. Long stretches alone can quietly turn anticipation into unease, and unease into something deeper. That's often when restlessness shows up, not as misbehavior, but as a nervous attempt to cope. What matters most isn't just how long you're gone, but how emotionally connected your dog feels across that distance. Because when separation lingers, it gently shifts how safe togetherness feels when you finally return. Number 6, forcing social interactions. What if confidence doesn't come from being pushed forward, but from being protected? Not every dog experiences strangers as exciting, no matter how friendly they seem to you. Some dogs move through the world carefully, choosing connection slowly and deliberately. When they're pulled into interactions before they're ready, their trust doesn't grow, it tightens. They begin to wonder whether you'll notice when they're uncomfortable, or if they'll have to handle it alone. Being allowed to approach at their own pace teaches them that you're paying attention. And that sense of protection becomes especially fragile in moments when physical control takes over. Number 7. Pulling on the leash. Think about the moment the leash goes tight and your dog's body jolts forward. To you, it's a quick correction. But to your dog, it's a sudden loss of control. That tension travels straight through their body, interrupting what should feel like shared movement. Over time, walks stop feeling exploratory and start feeling unpredictable. Excitement mixes with anxiety, and anticipation turns cautious. When movement becomes something to brace against, connection gives way to resistance, and that physical discomfort can echo emotionally in moments that seem small, even routine. Number 8. Taking away food or toys. Imagine reaching for something important and having it taken without warning. For dogs, food and cherished objects aren't just possessions. They represent safety and stability. When those are removed abruptly, it can spark a quiet sense of insecurity. They don't know if it's temporary or permanent, only that something valuable disappeared. That uncertainty can plant the seeds of guarding, not out of defiance, but self-preservation. Trust grows when your dog feels nothing important will vanish without reason. And once that trust is shaken, even moments of rest and vulnerability can feel less secure. Number 9. Waking your dog abruptly. Have you ever watched your dog snap awake, eyes wide, body tense, unsure where they are? That sudden jolt isn't harmless confusion. It's a moment of panic in a body that was fully at rest. Dogs sink into deep sleep where their guard is down, and being pulled out of it too fast can feel like danger arriving without warning. For a brief second, their instincts take over before recognition catches up. That's why even gentle dogs can seem startled or reactive when woken suddenly. Those moments pass quickly, but they leave an impression about how safe vulnerability really is. And safety becomes even more fragile when comfort routines meant to help end up doing the opposite. Number 10. Bathing too frequently. What if staying clean isn't always the same as feeling comfortable? Dogs experience bathing through sensation, not intention, and too much of it can quietly wear on them. Frequent washing strips away familiar scents and natural protection, leaving their skin irritated and unfamiliar to them. The discomfort may not be obvious at first, but it shows up in scratching, restlessness, or subtle avoidance. Even the smell that reassures you can feel overwhelming to a dog's sensitive nose. When care routines ignore how a dog physically feels afterward, trust can erode in small ways. And once routines start to feel unpredictable, clarity becomes something your dog looks for everywhere else. Number 11. Using inconsistent rules or commands. What if the hardest part for your dog isn't learning, but guessing? Dogs look for patterns to understand their world, especially when it comes to pleasing you. When rules shift or words change, they don't adapt logically. They hesitate emotionally. That hesitation comes from uncertainty, not stubbornness. They start watching more closely, trying to read which version of the rules applies today. Without consistency, confidence fades and decision-making becomes stressful. And when mental effort never seems to end, even positive engagement can start to feel like pressure. Number 12. Overstimulating or overtraining. What if doing more for your dog is sometimes the reason they feel overwhelmed? Activity, learning, and play are valuable, but without pauses, they blur into noise. Dogs need space to process, to rest, to simply exist without being asked to perform. When stimulation never stops, their signals change from eagerness to fatigue. They may disengage, not because they're bored, but because their system needs quiet. Balance allows enthusiasm to return naturally, without force. And in that calm space, dogs often show us the version of themselves that feels most secure. Sometimes the most meaningful changes in a relationship don't come from doing more, but from noticing what's already there. If you've stayed this far, it's because you cared deeply, and that care has always mattered to your dog more than perfection ever could. The quiet truth is that your dog isn't asking for flawless behavior, only for moments of understanding that help them feel safe beside you. As your awareness softens, the bond between you often begins to settle into something calmer and more trusting on its own. And once you start seeing these small emotional signals, it becomes hard not to notice the ones dogs use to communicate affection too. One of the most misunderstood of those signals is licking. And the reason dogs do it has far more to do with emotion than habit. If you're curious to keep listening to what your dog has been trying to say all along, the next story is waiting for you.